Good morning. So I'm a little late to the party on this shoe that I'm wearing today, but that's because I don't like to spend $300 on running shoes. I don't know if you feel the same way as me, but you know, decent shoes are in the 150 to 180 range. Then you get into your super shoes, your racing shoes, get into the 200s, and those can really vary from 225, 250, 275, 285, and then there's the rare shoe that goes above the 200s, and that's really the Adidas Pro Evo 1 and the Adidas Prime X Strung. A lot of people really loved the Prime X Strung version 1. It's a very tall stack of LightStrike Pro. Had carbon rods, blades, plates, all sorts of stuff in the midsole. That's really Adidas trying to flex their technological prowess, whatever they can put into a shoe. They did a very big redesign with the Prime X 2 Strung, which is the shoe that I'm wearing today. This is the first time they've abandoned the rods in one of their shoes and actually have a carbon plate in here, but not just one carbon plate, two carbon plates. And they, in between the two carbon plates, they have a different softness level of foam than the traditional LightStrike Pro. So it has that softer, bouncy foam sandwiched between two plates. I'll show you a picture of this. This is from a website, runrepeat.com. If you haven't been to this website, it's actually a great website where they cut shoes in half and really kind of break things down. So just want to give a shout out to them and, you know, show that picture, because I'm no way I'm cutting this $300 shoe in half. So I'll show you a picture of someone else who did. But I think the idea there is they're trying to achieve what Nike was trying to do in the Alpha Fly with those air pods in the front of the shoe, to give you something that's going to depress like a trampoline and kind of give you more bounce. So we'll see how this feels on the run today. One of the complaints with the previous Prime X Strung is stability. This shoe is an incredibly high stack shoe. It's like 50 millimeters of stack, so over the legal limit. But again, doesn't matter for normal people. I will at no point be trying to break a world record or win prize money in a major event, so I can wear whatever size shoe I want, like pretty much everyone else out there. But in addition to so changing the stability, the heel is wider in this shoe, and that cutout that exists on the bottom of the shoe they took away, so they're looking to improve the stability in this one. The upper is also very different. The previous one had kind of just a standard tongue. This one has more of that booty construction where it's stretchy at the top of the shoe. A much tighter fitting upper. So those are the two things that really stand out right away, is the change in the geometry of the shoe, the width in the heel, and how tight this upper fits. So also generally I'm always a 12 in Adidas shoes. I don't need to size up to a 12.5. These ones, the upper is very tight though. I think lengthwise it's actually correct, so a 12.5 might be too long, but it does, I do feel my toes touching the top of this upper, whereas in the previous Prime X Strung there was actually a lot of volume in the forefoot. I think that one had too much. This one might have too little. So maybe in the third version we'll go somewhere in between and it'll be perfect. So let's put some miles in the shoe and see how we do. Okay, so I'm just over 2 miles into my run now, and a couple thoughts. The upper being tight is actually not bothering me. Once I started running in it, it feels fine. I wore some thin socks today, and once I'm sinking into that foam a little bit, I feel like this shoe will get more comfortable the more I wear it. I kind of need to, you know, put some miles into it to loosen it up a little bit, but not bothering me so far. I will say with this shoe, it's definitely more stable than the Prime X Strung version 1. And it feels assistive and propulsive, but not explosive. So what I mean by that is this kind of wants to help you maintain a nice steady pace, so maybe a little bit faster than easy pace, but not like a race pace. It's too big of a shoe to get moving with that really high cadence. You know, 50 millimeters of stack is a lot to overcome, and I'll double check the weight of this shoe as well in my size. I know that it gained a little bit of weight from the first version of the shoe, so this really may be a super trainer, that category of shoe, where I'm not sure if I would take it for a marathon. I have to do a longer run in this and see if I can run a little bit faster than this, but right now I'm running probably around 7:45, closer to 8-minute mile pace, and it feels really comfortable and smooth at that pace. Like it wants to help me keep running at that pace. But I'm supposed to do an easy run today, so I haven't really turned it up yet. We'll see later in the run if I try to run faster how these do with that. Well, all right. These are feeling better. The more miles I put into them, they just keep feeling better and better. Right after mile 3, I feel like I really kind of adjusted to the way this shoe wants me to run in it. And I'm taking full advantage of that bounce from the forefoot. And it's really actually propulsive and feels great. I'm feeling like this may be the Alpha Fly for larger runners that I've been waiting for. And what I mean by that is, if you go back on my channel and look at my review of the Alpha Fly 1, I know that's a lot of people's favorite shoe ever, but I really struggled with that one. I feel like the AirPods were too soft, too compressive, and it kind of dragged me down. I couldn't achieve good speed with those because I was sinking into the shoe too much. It just wasn't giving me the pop that I was looking for. These shoes with the traditional Adidas LightStrike Pro foam is that denser, firmer, not as compressive foam. It doesn't sink in too much, and then they got that softer foam sandwiched between the two plates, but the regular LightStrike Pro on the top and bottom, so it's giving me enough of that compression and bounce but still not being too much. Okay, so this run today was one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had in a shoe. Where I first put these on, I'm like, the upper's really tight, it's really high off the ground, I feel a little bit like a baby deer, being wobbly up here. I started running first mile, I did a 7:38, so I'm like, okay, it's a little bit faster than easy pace this shoe can do, kind of like my marathon goal pace, but I'm like, it feels all right around 8-minute mile pace, so let me try and sit back into it a little bit. I ran an 8:05, a 7:57, but then really after mile 3, these like really started to feel, I started to feel really confident in the shoe. Like my foot strikes were feeling really good. The foam seemed to open up, and I was really taking advantage of that bounce and the propulsion of the plate. And I'm like, wait a minute, this can actually go a lot faster than I thought it could. I ran a 7:30, a 7:25, and then mile 6, I really let it go, and I ran a 6:22 at the end of this run. And I did a 13-mile long run 2 days ago. I should have not fresh legs, and I feel like I could run 5 more miles right now. These really put a nice spring in my step towards the end, so quite a transformation throughout the run. So I'm definitely going to run in these again before I give my first impression review here, because this one was all over the board. But initially the upper was too tight. Now it feels like it fits me perfectly. Initially I wasn't feeling as much bounce and explosion, but by the end of the run I was feeling amazing in these. So we'll see how it goes in the next run. Good news, my next run was actually even better than my first run in the shoe. Taking a look at the stats from this real quick, I ran just over 14 miles, averaged 7:40 pace. This was supposed to be a faster finish long run, so I was supposed to run 9 miles at easy pace and then the last 5 miles at marathon goal pace. But what actually ended up happening that I was kind of pleasantly surprised about, I was running kind of faster than my easy pace the whole time. You can see the first couple miles are under 8 minutes. I really should have been somewhere between 8 and 9 minutes a mile. So this entire time I was running under 8, close to 8. Mile 7's a little bit over 8. But recently this is something that's strange, but it's been happening to me. Maybe my fitness is getting better. I get 8 miles into a run and all of a sudden feel fresh. So after mile 8, mile 9, then that's when I'm supposed to start turning it up to around 7:37 pace, which is my marathon goal pace for a 3:20 marathon. And I got up to 7:26, 7:14, 6:54, so under 7-minute mile pace. 7:07, and I finished the last mile, mile 14, 6:51, which is, under 3-hour marathon pace, if I could actually hold that for a marathon, which I can't. But running under a 7-minute mile at mile 14 was pretty friggin' impressive with this shoe. One thing that's actually standing out to me with this shoe as well, looking at this rack behind me, I got a lot of bright shoes. This one's just white. It's white on white. You almost can't even tell what shoe it is. The Adidas stripes are on there, but they're kind of an off-white color. So not the typical colorway that I go for, but again, this was strictly based on price. I think it's kind of a sharp-looking shoe, just in straight white. But I was able to get it for under $200. So again, I buy all my own shoes on this channel. I'm never going to pay $300 for a shoe. So I was able to get this over $100 off, so I wanted to give them a try, especially because I did really like the original Prime X. And really my only issue with it was stability in the heel, where this one has completely corrected that. if you look at these two heels next to each other, this one is very narrow in the heel, and it also has this cutout on the side, which makes it more wobbly and making you want to turn in. Whereas this one, the heel is a lot wider, and they took away that cutout. Also, this has a plastic piece that you can't really see that goes from here all the way to here. So it has additional reinforcement on the inside to prevent you from overpronating. You can see, looking at the Adidas Pro 3, that has a similar thing, the plastic piece right here on the heel. So they kind of took the heel design a little bit more from this shoe, which is a much more stable shoe. And this one has a ton of Continental rubber. It's actually covered from the beginning all the way to the back on the side as well, and then it has that extra reinforcement of the plastic there. And if you thought Adidas couldn't put more in a midsole than they did with that one, they did it again here. So this one's the first time I've seen a shoe with 2 carbon plates. You can actually see in the bottom here, there's one above and one below. So these basically sit on top of each other and split apart right here. And then this foam in between them is much softer than the traditional LightStrike Pro. So this is the regular LightStrike Pro, the original recipe that was in the Adidas Pro 3, not the really squishy version that's in the 4. So you have the regular LightStrike Pro on the top and the bottom. They actually have an insert of the softer foam in the heel here, which is kind of like what Asics does with their gel to give you a little bit more softness in between. And then this foam here is much softer than the rest of the traditional LightStrike Pro. I'm actually not sure if this is the same foam that's in that shoe or if it's something else, but it's just a much softer version of LightStrike Pro. Adidas calls all these foams LightStrike Pro, even though they're all different. But what this actually does for you is gives you that more stable platform. This shoe feels good no matter how you land in it. With the original one, if you're a heel striker, that shoe's very unstable. This one, if you heel strike, no problem at all. It feels very comfortable to land here, just gets you right into that midfoot and the rocker. But what I found with this one too is it works for slower paces, but when you want to turn it up, kind of the more force you're putting into the shoe, the more effort you're putting into the shoe, the more rebound it gives you back. So if I'm running slower in this shoe, it feels okay. It feels stable, it feels a little bit bouncy, but then at the end of that run where I really wanted to turn up the pace and I was stepping hard down into the shoe and toeing off, this was really compressing a lot more and giving me a ton of spring from the forefoot. So what I really like about that is, again, me being a larger runner, I don't think I could put any force into this shoe that can break the suspension that's on this. It's ready for you no matter how much effort, no matter how much force you're putting into it. Where I feel like with shoes like the Alphafly down there, I did not have that same effect. I was breaking the suspension of the shoe basically, where the amount of weight I was putting into it, it wasn't giving me that energy return back. It was just absorbing it into the shoe, where this I had a very different and more positive experience. I was actually kind of shocked at the end of that long run how good these felt and how stable they felt. Basically, the faster I ran, the harder I tried, the more the shoe just responded and was up for it. So really the only negative with this shoe is the weight. Anyone who's seen a video on this, you'll see that it gained weight over the previous one. In my size though, it's only about an ounce more. So it's not a huge difference, but that's really the only thing that makes me not want to take this for a marathon. I think right now this is the best long run shoe that I've ever run in. Because it gives me that stability, it gives me that bounce, it has the ability to turn up the pace. But since it's a little bit heavy for a race shoe, I don't know that I would want to take this for a marathon. Just after mile 20, I don't want to be carrying around those additional ounces. This one's close to 12 ounces, it's just under. Some of the other ones behind me here, this shoe's actually just over 8 ounces. This is the lightest Adidas shoe that I have. This one is just over 9 ounces, the Adidas Pro 3. So going from 12 to 9 is a pretty significant difference. So I still think for a race, I'm going to choose this one over this one. But for training, this has really proved to be an excellent addition to the shoes I have behind me here. And then this one, the new Evo SL, is between these two in weight. So this is kind of your tempo trainer. This to me is like the 5K, 10K shoe. This is the marathon one, and then this is kind of the jack of all trades trainer. So recently Adidas has gotten a whole lot of my money, but I also am very happy with all these shoes behind me here. So I've been getting good return on investment. Now I'm actually up to 3 runs in this shoe. I did another long run yesterday, so I did just over a half marathon again, but this time I actually tried to restrain myself and just run easy pace. So I was shooting for 8-minute mile pace, and if you could look at my splits there, I was pretty much right on it. I had some just under 8, some just over 8. But again, mile 12 was 8 minutes flat. Mile 13 was 8:05. So again, even at the end of that long run, I was still able to push and maintain that pace. This one really settles into whatever pace you want to run. So if you want to hang out around 8-minute mile pace, this will keep you bouncing along, feeling great. But what I also found with this shoe is there's kind of like the perfect place to land in this to get the most energy return from it. I think it's really kind of like right here in the midfoot. If you can kind of engage the heel maybe a little bit, start to squish down here, this part starts to compress, and then you get to here, and if you're really toeing off hard and into the shoe, this gives you a really, really nice bounce that just wants to continue gliding along at that pace. So I've got 3 runs in this shoe so far, and I'm up to about 33 miles over those 3 runs. So I'm putting miles on this fast, but that's another thing I think where this is going to really excel. That full Continental rubber outsole is one of the most durable outsoles a running shoe can have. I really find Puma Grip and Adidas outsoles, Continental, are just some of the best, grippiest, go on forever. And again, this shoe with having such a high stack, I think this is going to last hundreds of miles. And it's really kind of a bit of a cheat code when you're running on hills. And what I mean by that is having this high of a stack and the rocker angle, if you're running up a steep hill, it kind of deletes the grade of the hill, because if you're pushing in right here, it's right on the toe, and it just makes the hills feel so much easier. And then similarly, when you're running down a hill, again, you have all that stack when you're landing more towards your heel that just goes right into the roll. So running up hills or down hills in this actually feels fantastic, which is kind of interesting in a shoe this large. Again, this shoe is listed as 43.5 millimeters in the forefoot, where the forefoot is actually above the legal stack height for all these other race shoes. So the forefoot of the shoe is higher than the heel of every legal shoe that I have here. So that's just a lot of cushioning, joint protection, and goodness in the forefoot here. So this to me right now is the reigning, defending long run champion of the world. And I'm going to be using this for every long run in this marathon training block. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the toe box in this one is a lot lower than it is in the original Prime X Strung. I feel like I had a lot of volume in the toe box of this one where I almost needed to wear thicker socks to kind of try and fill it, where this one my toes are kind of right up against the top. But what I found was as I run in the shoe, I'm sinking into the foam more, and the upper actually fits me really well. This shoe is very difficult to get on. It has that booty type construction, so you actually really do need to use this, pull it apart and stick your foot in there. So if you have a wider foot, it is a narrow shoe. If you have like a high instep or volume in this part, it's going to be very tight. But for me, with just kind of a normal volume foot, I almost feel like I don't even need laces on this shoe. The way that it fits in the forefoot here is very tight over the top of your foot. So I haven't had any issues with the lacing on this one. The laces that it comes with are pretty short though, so if you need to do a runner's knot, there's not a lot of lace for that. But I don't think many people are going to need it with the way that this upper fits. To me, I get a very good lockdown without having to cinch the laces down super tight. The question that we always ultimately come to with shoes like this is it worth that really high price tag of $300? And unfortunately, the answer is no. I mean, I don't think any shoe is worth $300. The top racing shoes are in the 200s. They're faster than this, they're lighter than this, they're more explosive than this. But what this does better than pretty much any other shoe I have right now is just eat up miles and dominate long runs. I feel great, running long in this shoe. A shoe like the Brooks Hyperion Max over there it's also a heavy shoe. It doesn't have the spring, the energy return that this one does. If I'm doing a long run after 12 miles, I'd much rather be in this shoe than that one. It just feels so much better, makes it less painful to do those long runs. But then again, if you are doing marathon training and doing a lot of long runs, I think this shoe is great for that, just not at that price. So again, if you can get this on sale, I think it's a great shoe for that. Also for larger, heavier runners, this one is got the suspension of a Ford Raptor on it. It can handle your weight. It can handle anything you're throwing at this, any impact force. It's a really sturdy, durable shoe. So this shoe's been out for over a year, so hopefully there will be some more sales on it coming soon. I know there is a third version of this that's going to be coming out this year at some point. I'm not sure exactly when. I found a picture online of kind of what it's supposed to look like. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but what I noticed from that picture is this section looks bigger, like they put in more of that soft foam in the front. Again, I'm not sure if they're going to use the foam that's in the Adidas Pro 4. My suggestion to Adidas with this shoe, if it was lighter, this would be the perfect marathon shoe for me. I think I'm probably still going to go with the Adidas Pro 3 when I run my next marathon, because I just don't think this can make up for that weight with the bounce that I'm feeling from this. But two things I think they could do to improve this shoe, I'm not sure if anyone's listening or cares, is lower the stack a little bit. I don't know that it needs to be 50 millimeters. Could they make this 45? And save the weight by taking off a little bit there? Or do they need that much clearance to fit the plate monstrosity that's in the front of the shoe here. And then my other suggestion would be maybe to put the Adidas Pro 4 version of LightStrike Pro in the top layer to give you some more softness and bounce that foam is great for. To me, that foam is unstable though. For my weight, it's too unstable to use for a marathon. But I think if this had this big layer of LightStrike Pro traditional with the carbon plates, and then maybe they replace this top layer with the new formulation of foam, which is also lighter, the shoe would be bouncier, it would be lighter, and it may be just the perfect shoe. So Adidas Research and Development Department, I'm not sure if you're listening to me or care about my opinion at all, but those are two ideas for you. Maybe lower the stack a little bit to reduce the weight, or try doing a dual Adidas Pro 3 foam with the Adidas Pro 3 LightStrike Pro on the bottom and the Pro 4 on the top. Then that might be a really interesting shoe. So I'm thinking I will get these up to 50 miles very soon and have a 50-mile full review coming up. And I think what I'll probably do is match up some of these big guys, because I know that's a lot of shoes that people are comparing. How does this match up to the Super Blast 2? So I'll probably do a run where I compare the original Prime X Strung, this one, and the Super Blast 2, and kind of give my thoughts on how those all compare. So look for that coming soon. I'll see you in the next video.